Hey guys, we're going to talk about the quadratic formula today. So previous lesson, we factored everything to solve and get our roots or our solutions. However, we're not always going to be able to factor our equations. So we're going to introduce something called the quadratic formula. It is really important that it is quadratic. That means the highest term you could have is an x squared. There we go. To solve, we won't always be able to factor. So here's our quadratic formula. Here's standard form of a quadratic. So remember, x squared is a quadratic term. That's the highest it can be. So if it's x to the third or x to the fourth, we're not going to be able to use this formula. But if it is quadratic, this equation right here will solve for x. So we're going to have opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And notice that these b, a's, and c's all come from that standard form, and those will be constants. So let's do an example to show this. So here we have 5x squared plus 34x minus 7. This actually will factor, however, it's not necessarily a fun one to factor. So we can quickly use a quadratic formula. It goes opposite of b, which is this term, so negative 34 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's where I get the 34 squared, minus 4, that minus 4 will always be there, times a, here's a, times c, we always use the sign in front, so that's why that's a minus 7, all divided by 2 times a. Simplifying that, 34 squared is 1,156. Negative 4 times 5 times negative 7 becomes a positive 140, and the denominator simplifies to be 10. Our radicand inside the square root is 1296, and when you take the square root of that, you get 36. So at this point, we have two different answers. We can do negative 34 plus 36, which would be 2 over 10. And then we can do, and obviously 2 over 10 simplifies to be 1/5. The other way we can, or the way to get the other the way to get the other answer is to take negative 34 minus 36, which is a negative 70, divided by 10, gives us a negative 7 as our second solution. One more example, here is a quadratic. Plug those numbers in, we get this. Our inside of our square root becomes 36 minus 36, which is 0. Square root of 0 is 0. So negative 6 plus 0 and negative 6 minus 0 is the same. So we're going to get negative 6 over 18, which simplifies to be negative 1/3. And we have oops, you can't see that. We have a multiplicity of 2. Remember, we talked about double roots the other day. Since negative 6 plus and negative 6 minus 0 gives you the same thing, we have that double root or multiplicity of 2.